Welcome to the Offsite Construction Series. I'm Audrey Grabesic, your host on Offsite Dirt. In any type of project, whether it be new construction, remodeling, old projects, one of the biggest factors that is impacting individuals are their appliances, the lighting and the plumbing, where it's coming from, what's happening, and are there supply and demand issues that we're seeing overall. We are welcoming Mark Hopwood with Ferguson Enterprises. Mark is one of the leading experts, as I like to say, or sales manager for the branch that's in Denver, Colorado. It's been great meeting the group there because they're so invested in the lifestyle of how people live, what they're looking to do, how are they living, and what kind of products do they have that can impact their life to the greater good. Welcome, Mark. How are you today?
Doing good. How about yourself, Audrey?
I'm doing great. Thank you for being here. Can you give us a little bit of background on Ferguson and your role at the company?
Sure. So Ferguson is one of the largest plumbing and lighting and appliance suppliers across the United States. They acquired our company about 7 years ago, and we've grown exponentially as far as what's going on with lighting and plumbing because that's a new category of goods for the product of or our showroom here in Denver. I'm a sales manager that's responsible for many of those areas, and we're starting to see a lot of changes in the type of products that are being purchased across the U.S.
So why don't we start off with appliances? Obviously, with building materials, supply and demand, we're seeing lots of things happen. What is the trend that is impacting appliances right now?
One of the biggest trends is availability in the supply chain. And the supply chain issues are being impacted across the board. It's not usually the big boxes, it's actually the small parts that go inside of those big boxes. Case in point, if we have a large manufacturer that, let's say, has a bunch of refrigerators that are going to be shipping out, they may be waiting for anything from plastic bins that go inside of it, to screws, to foam and insulation, as well as those computer chips that we've been hearing so much about in the media.
It's interesting, you and I were talking that with COVID, a lot of people are home, they're working from home, and so they're kind of changing the way that they live. Obviously, cooking, refrigerating, all of those different things impact how we do that. Are you seeing one particular product over another that is becoming more popular, or is there products that we're waiting more time with?
Sure. Like I mentioned to you previously, one of the things that we're seeing right now is I'm not sure how everybody's dishwasher broke at the same time, but that's one of the supply chain issues that we're seeing in the marketplace right now. The dishwasher industry in general, in terms of whether it's coming from Bosch or whether it's coming from Masco or Genair or KitchenAid or wherever, there's just a shortage of those products. I think people got tired of looking at the same products that they had in their kitchen for years, and they started to change those out. What we are starting to see also is we're starting to see a trend towards wellness. That trend towards wellness impacts things in a lot of different ways. One of the products that we're seeing a big increase in is steam ovens or combi steam ovens. Combi steam ovens would be where you've got a conventional wall oven combined with a steam oven in general, and we're seeing this across many different manufacturers being used in their production process. So with that combi steam oven, you're able to cook and utilize a cooking type of apparatus to provide a healthier way of eating.
Are you seeing a trend in more luxury type of appliances being purchased?
In a big way. We've seen that entire luxury market explode over the last couple of years. And I think that goes back to people looking at their kitchen and saying, what do I want to change? How do I want to live in my house? This pandemic has influenced my life, and I haven't gone to restaurants as frequently. So what ends up happening is that they cook at home and they want to have a better outcome. They want to become a chef at their house. We're also seeing a shift towards things like menuing systems that allow the consumer to get a finished product like they were a chef or a professionally trained culinary expert.
I think one of the coolest things that you do over at your location in general is you bring in a chef to actually not only show us how to make some kind of item, but also explain how a product works. Just recently, it was on a dishwasher. Have those really impacted the way that business is growing for you? Are you seeing that more people are trying to learn how to use different products and obviously become the chef in their kitchen?
Absolutely. And the technology in today's environment is allowing that to happen on a much more frequent basis. So whether it's a menuing system that says, okay, this is the way to do a prime rib, for instance. Christmas is coming up. Maybe that's going to be something you're going to have in your own home. That it teaches you not only how to prepare it, but it also gives you visual cues in terms of what it should look like when it's done. So if you wanted it done to medium rare, it's going to give you an idea of what that looks like. If it wants to be done to medium well, it's going to give you an idea of what that looks like. It's going to be having a temperature probe so you can get it to a precise temperature so that the outcome is just like a chef would have done in a restaurant.
I think the other cool thing is you have many products in your showroom that you can use an app on your phone.
Absolutely.
It's incredible.
Yep.
It's incredible how software is integrating with all of our means of living. Are there anything else in that specific area? Are you seeing on appliances? Are you seeing more stainless steel going out the door? What's happening on the exterior surfaces of products?
It's an interesting question, Audrey. One of the outcomes that we've seen is we've seen a shift back to stainless steel, and I don't think that's because of the demand by the consumer, because what we were seeing before the pandemic started to occur was we were starting to see a shift more towards color. And what I mean by color is that there were some manufacturers that were coming out with multiple different colors. As a matter of fact, multiple colors across the entire spectrum so that you could customize it to what you wanted it to look like in your own kitchen. What we're starting to see in today's marketplace, because of the supply chain issues, we're not seeing as much of that occurring because, quite honestly, the manufacturers are worried about getting the product out the door to be able to satiate the demand for their product. I think that's going to return as we start to get a relief from the supply chain issue that's impacting everybody's lives in a lot of different ways.
So you're saying anywhere from 12 to 18 months, somewhere in that time frame, that's kind of the delay on what we're seeing to be able to acquire these products or products in general in the appliance world, correct?
It depends on the products. So some products are available within a few weeks. Reality is if we're talking the high-end luxury product, we're typically looking anywhere from 6 to 12 months is what the lead time is right now on many of those products, whether it's a built-in refrigerator, a built-in range, a built-in wall oven, a steam oven, etc. But again, those timelines will vary based upon manufacturer and availability of parts.
I think that's a really good point, because when you're in the new construction area and you're just starting your project in the design phase, you should really almost start having the conversation right at the beginning about what appliances you have so you can kind of meet those timelines, right?
That would be true. And the other piece of that equation is oftentimes the consumer, whether it's a builder or an end-use consumer, is start to define what they want from a cabinet style standpoint based upon the product that they want to have from an appliance standpoint. Now that appliance is going to dictate some of those cabinet designs. So if you have a 48-inch range, for instance, that's going to be a completely different than if somebody wanted to put a 30-inch range in. So you've got to define some of those sizes to be able to identify what you need from a cabinet structure standpoint as well.
It's interesting that you say that, because I was talking with I think it was another manufacturer, and they were saying the biggest area that they're seeing growth is not only in multifamily, but in small, compact living spaces. Are you seeing that appliances are becoming smaller?
Some of that has been happening for a number of years, especially in the multifamily segment. So we started to see a retraction in terms of size going to a 24-inch configuration from a 30-inch configuration, which meant that you had a more compact living space in general. We've started to see that back off a little bit over these last 6 to 12 months. And I think the main reason for that is that as we've seen these spaces change, we're not seeing as much of a demand for that 24-inch piece, especially here in Colorado. However, on both coasts, whether they're talking about the East Coast or the West Coast, where you've got a larger multifamily, more dense population, there's been a trend towards that 24-inch product in general on those coasts.
Are you seeing in the building and actually in new construction, are you seeing packages with builders in multifamily or even in the single family? Are they using multiple different types of vendors, or is it typically they go with one vendor and try to buy all of the components, so like the refrigerator, the stove, the dishwasher, all in that same brand?
Interesting question. If we're talking about a developer or a builder, they're typically going to want to do all of one brand. What we have seen happen, though, because of the supply chain issue, is we have seen more mixing. And as you start to mix that, one of the things you need to think about is what that's going to look like together. If you have a round handle from one manufacturer and a square handle from another, it's probably not going to look as good. Likewise, on dishwashers, we've seen a lot of pocket handles, meaning that you've got no handle on the front. That pocket handle becomes non-intrusive to the overall design of the kitchen. So that ends up being that you end up with a different manufacturer of a dishwasher to finish out the kitchen than the rest of the products that may be in it.
So with COVID and people being at home and more products being fulfilled over the internet, are you seeing a huge impact there? Have you seen more rises in sales online? Are you seeing more people come to your showroom? What's happening in that space?
Great question. Boy, you're just full of them today.
Mark. I just want to keep getting as much information as I can because we don't ever get to talk to somebody in your position, and it makes me happy to have this conversation because it's the conversation that's happening in the industry, right? And every time we get into a new project, it's always about getting our appliances and things ordered as soon as possible. So I appreciate your time with us today.
Absolutely. So I'm going to break this down to a couple of different categories. So first off, we're not seeing as big of a attraction to online purchasing with appliances as we are in some of the categories of goods that we represent. So we have a program inside of our company that we call omni-channel. And so with what we do online through build.com and what we do through offline through the retail segment in the showroom, that also attracts the builders and designers and et cetera. The online portion is better for plumbing and lighting, especially because you can ship that product in a much more expedited way than you can from an appliance standpoint. So trying to get the appliances shipped through an online purveyor right now going through an LTL shipment or something of that nature, they're more prone to damage, they're more prone to time delays, etc., just because of the overall size of the componentry. So we do a lot of business online through plumbing and lighting, more so than we do on appliances.
So let's make that shift. How are things going in the lighting and plumbing arena for the industry, and what's trending now for those segments?
So let's take each one of those independently. From a plumbing standpoint, what we're starting to see is we're seeing a lot of matte black and some mixed metals for that matter. Gold is still one of those colors that is being demanded, whether it's a champagne bronze or an actual gold. Matte black, as I mentioned earlier. We're starting to see some of those finishes, though, also being difficult to get. So what we've seen is a lot of those manufacturers are starting to consolidate their SKU count, especially from a color standpoint, because as they can consolidate that, they can put it through manufacturing and produce those in a much more rapid rate and be able to satisfy or satiate the demand that we're seeing from the consumer. From a lighting standpoint, we're also seeing some changes there. So if you think about the way that a lot of lighting may come into the country, it's going to be coming in from overseas. Those would be coming in, let's say, from China or any place in the Far East to be able to bring it into the U.S. Well, we already know what's going on with the ports, and in terms of being able to get those products brought in, they come in on a container. And if you think about the number of products you can get on a container, the smaller that product, the better as far as the overall shipping is concerned, because they can put more product into a container, the smaller the product is. So we've seen some of the manufacturers start to change from shipping from let's say, a chandelier standpoint to going more towards a pendant standpoint because they can get more of those products in a container.
It's interesting. It's funny. We talk about all these different forms of construction, from volumetric, panelization, and containers, and there's so much other areas that the container fulfills. It makes sense about making their products smaller and getting them in there, and it makes sense that we've got to adapt, right? We've got to adapt on, maybe we thought we were going to have these great big lighting systems, and now we're looking at smaller ones.
For sure, and we're seeing mixed metals happening in lighting as well. So whether it's mixed metals where you've got natural materials plus metal, or if you've got metals that may be combining that gold and black and more of a chrome and stainless type of look as well, we're starting to see that influence happening in the marketplace today.
That's awesome. So, Mark, we were talking briefly. You were a part of a project. Can you give us a little bit more insight onto that little project that you did?
I think the project that you're talking about is the Rockies West Lot. The Rockies West Lot is a mixed use type of project. So with a mixed use project like what you see here, this would be similar to what you'd see with the Dallas Cowboys and what they did in Dallas to make their stadium more attractive for mixed use for a lot of different things. In terms of the Rockies West Lot, you have everything from a restaurant or multiple restaurants to a hotel to individual residences like condos, etc. And it's directly across the street from Rockies Field. So now this becomes one of those entertainment options that somebody can go down and spend a lot of time prior to the game or after the game that you don't have to go on a big trip to be able to find.
It's interesting how vast things are expanding. We started with the single family, then we moved to the multifamily, now we're working in commercial. Are you seeing more expansion in this type of development design?
Well, as a matter of fact, it depends on where we're talking about in the U.S. But yes, in downtown areas like this becomes one of those areas where it draws a lot of attention and makes the property as well as the venues more attractive for people to come and visit.
I love it. I think it's genius, and I love the integration of all these different types of utilities that you guys have, and not only in the appliance world but the lighting and the plumbing. I think it's a synergy of what we all need and we want to have more of. So it's nice to see your success on that project.
Thank you. It's been great.
Is there anything else that you'd like to touch up on or express, as to where you guys are going or what your goals are for the following year?
Well, I think one of the things that we're going to continue to expand and explore is this online mixed transactional standpoint. And quite honestly, as we continue to peel the layers back on that, it's becoming a bigger and bigger part of our business. So whether the consumer wants to shop online, start to figure out what they want to have, and then come in and experience what that looks like so they can touch and feel and understand the quality of the product, that's one way for consumers to purchase. Other consumers want to purchase specifically online and they don't even want to enter a retail store location or a showroom. And that availability is available to them as well. Other people want to come in and experience everything and they don't want to go online at all. It's more about the experience. So whether it's coming in and seeing how the product functions and facilitates their needs, whether it's on a cooking side or on a plumbing side or even on a lighting side, you're able to experience that. So one size doesn't fit all, and today's environment means how do you create that experience in the way that the consumer wants to experience it? So whether it's a builder, a designer, or a home owner and individual user, that's the way that we need to go to market.
And I love, Mark, that you guys have figured that out and you're offering all those different options to individuals because, like you said, they're individuals. They have different ways that they work and they live and they play. So it's nice to see that Ferguson is on top of that.
You bet.
Well, thank you for being here. We appreciate the time. I love that you are giving us a little bit more insight into appliances, into lighting, and into the whole arena of how everything's kind of getting mixed together now. It's a very exciting time to be in your industry.
For sure. Thank you for your time as well today.
So there's another dirt or offsite dirt conversation about appliances, lighting, and plumbing. As you can see, there is supply and demand that is happening in the marketplace. We just have to know where we can work with the best partners, either it be online or in person in a showroom. But either way, we're going to get through this and we're going to have the best lifestyle that we can because we're a team working together to make that happen. So thank you for being here. I'm Audrey Grabesic with the Offsite Construction Series.
Thank you.